So on one side you have Paul Ehrlich that says too many people, we're running out of resources. The other side you have Elon Musk that says no, we're not running out of resources and we don't have enough people. We don't have enough people. So where did this idea come from? This idea originally kind of came, we trace it back to this guy, Robert Malthus. In 1798, he writes a book and he makes this argument. He said, you know, food grows at a linear rate, but population grows at this geometric rate. So that gap is going to appear, and what is going to be the result of that gap? The gap is going to create this civilizational collapse. An economist reads The Population Bomb, and initially he thought, yeah, the logic seems to be clear here, but you know, I should go back and kind of look at the facts. What has actually happened to the abundance of resources and population? In economics, we measure abundance by prices. What are the prices doing? The prices are actually capturing this information about relative scarcity. So he writes this article in Science. It was the leading journal back in 1980, and the title of the article is Resources, Population, Environment, and Oversupply of False Bad News. And so immediately Ehrlich and Simon have this battle, and it's taking place in this journal, and every month we hear him going back and forth about this relationship between resources and population. So they both agreed that there is a relationship. If we think about resources on the vertical axis and population on the horizontal, what is that relationship? Ehrlich made the argument that as population increases, resources would become much more scarce. Simon, on the other hand, the economist, Ehrlich, by the way, was a biologist. He didn't have formal economic training. He came from this perspective as a biologist. Simon says, no, actually what happens when you have more people, resources become more abundant. How is this possible? How is this possible? So they're going back and forth having this really contentious, getting really personal. And finally Simon says, why don't we bet? Why don't we bet? So Ehrlich says, yeah, let's bet. So Simon says, I'll tell you what, you pick any non-renewable resource, got to be more than a year, and I'll bet you that it's going to become more abundant, not less abundant. And so Ehrlich, he got two of his colleagues, and they picked 5 metals, copper, chromium, nickel, tin, and tungsten. And they laid futures contract bets on each one of these, five of these metals, $200 a contract. So the bet's $1,000, and they said, we'll bet for 10 years. So you start the bet in 1980, you go over for a 10-year period. Let's see what happens. And we're going to look at the prices 10 years out in the future. We're going to adjust for inflation. And if it's more than $1,000, Simon, you got to pay the difference. If it's less than $1,000, Ehrlich, you got to pay Simon the difference. So what do you think happened? What do you think happened? Let me also remind you that 1980 to 1990 had the highest growth in population on the planet. 850 million people were added to the planet. So you got a lot of people that are coming to the planet. What do you think happened to these 5 metals? Well, October 1990, Simon gets a check from Ehrlich for $576.07. The real price of these 5 metals had fallen by an average of 36%. So how is it possible that population increased by basically 20% over this 10-year period on the planet, but these resources became 67% more abundant? In other words, the time it took you to earn the money to buy these resources in 1980, you could buy 67% more in 1990. How is that possible? All right. Well, I can't help myself. For college, it's time for our first quiz. How many keys are in a piano? Who's got 88? 88's got the A. A for the day. How many songs are in a piano? Well, if you ask Thanos, he would say, you got 88 keys, You must have 88 songs. He made an error there fundamentally in his definition of what a resource is. What is a resource? Is a piano the number of keys, or is it the music, the songs? And it's a trick question because the songs are not really in the piano, are they? Where are the songs? The songs are in the minds of human beings. And what is the number of those songs that we could conceive? Now, granted, some songs are better than other songs, but that number does approach infinity, right? Is it the piano, the physical atoms, or the music that is valuable to us as human beings? Okay?